This project is about how's the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, or DMCA, affecting the internet and software development. What were the Congress goals in enacting this legislation? We're going to evaluate its effectiveness, any ethical implications, as well as analyze its failure and successes. The Digital Millennium Copyright Act, enacted in the United States in 1998, has had a significant impact on the internet and software development. Its broad goals are to protect copyright holders from infringement in the digital environment, encourage technological innovation, and establish rules around digital rights management. However, its application has led to both positive and negative consequences in various areas of the internet and software development. On one hand, DMCA helps protect digital content like movies, music, and software from piracy, which benefits copyright holders. It makes it illegal to bypass protections that stop people from copying or distributing content without permission. On the other hand, it also limits fair use and innovation. The law makes it harder for developers to reverse engineer software or hardware, even for good reasons like fixing bugs or improving compatibility. It also hurts open source projects because certain software may be blocked by DMCA protections. DMCA also contributes to safe harbor. Websites like YouTube are protected from lawsuits for user uploaded content as long as they quickly remove infringing material when asked. This helps platforms grow. But copyright owners may feel their content isn't taken down fast enough. Moreover, DMCA's takedown system lets copyright holders to remove content when they think it violates their rights. But sometimes this is abused to remove content that's actually fair use, like parodies or critics, which can harm free expression. Even though it's United States law, the DMCA affects countries around the world, shaping how other nations protect copyright online. This can lead to different laws in different countries, sometimes limiting innovation.
This part of the project is going to show the goals from Congress on enacting the DMCA legislation. In October of 1998, Congress had a unanimous vote in the U.S. Senate under President Kennedy's presidency to pass the DMCA Act. Their main goal for passing this act was to protect companies from protection of copyright holders from online theft, but also updating copyright laws for digital age. There are a couple goals when talking about this, positive goals. Modernizing copyright laws, encouraging innovation and digital growth, protecting copyright holders, but also shielding online platforms. As someone who loves creating and music and things like that, I totally understand why this law exists. It's to protect the work and art of companies and make them stand out and be unique in their own way. And without this law, it makes everybody the same. When this bill passing happened back in 1998, a lot of people overlooked it. But as the years went on, they started to look more into it and trying to figure out why this law was passed. As they received some backlash from this law being passed, I think overall it was a good law to be able to protect companies and their long-term investment of their company as far as protecting what they're known for. Just like every other law, Some people are going to agree with it and some people won't. But when you think of the long term goal of this law, it protects a lot of company and being able to be themselves and stand out from different companies that may have the same product. That way, no one can copy their work and take credit for something that they've worked hard and built for.
Effectiveness and ethical implications. The DMCA, the act that was aimed at bringing the U.S. copyright law into the digital age, was able to achieve several of its goals, yet it has faced criticism regarding its effectiveness, ethical implications, and the balance between copyright protection and user freedoms. While the DMCA has introduced mechanisms that changed how copyright is enforced in the digital world, there are only a few provisions that are the most notable. The DMCA made it illegal to bypass protections like digital rights management. This provision targeted preventing piracy and unauthorized access to copyrighted works. This has helped protect content creators, but has led to criticism from communities that rely on circumventing DRM for legitimate purposes, like archival work or the repair of devices. The notice and takedown system gives copyright holders the ability to request the removal of violating content from websites and online platforms by submitting a formal notice. This system has been prominent in helping copyright holders address violations of their intellectual property. Platforms like YouTube and Facebook have relied on this system in order to avoid lawsuits while fostering user-generated content. Safe harbor provisions prevent platforms from being held liable for the actions of their users. This has been prominent in the growth of the internet. It enables platforms like YouTube, X, and Instagram to continue to grow without facing legal challenges over user-uploaded content. The ethical considerations surrounding the DMCA are complex. The law aims to protect the rights of creators, ensuring they can control how their work is used and monetized, though it often raises questions about the balance between copyright protection and public access to knowledge and culture. One of the ethical dilemmas posed by the DMCA is its impact on access to information. On one hand, creators should be entitled to protect their intellectual property and be compensated for their work. On the other hand, DMCA has sometimes limited access to educational, cultural, and historical resources. When DMCA takedown notices are sent to remove content such as educational videos or archival material that falls under fair use, it raises questions about the balance between protecting intellectual property and promoting a free and open internet. The DMCA often undermines the ethical principle of fair use, which allows for limited use of copyrighted material without permission for purposes like commentary, criticism, research, or parody. By prioritizing copyright enforcement over fair use, the DMCA threatens creative freedom of individuals and can discourage the remix culture that has dueled much of the internet's creativity. The DMCA's international reach raises ethical concerns about how copyright laws, originally crafted with American interest in mind, might be applied globally. The DMCA's anti-circumvention provisions can impact countries where access to certain types of knowledge or digital content might be more restricted. The law's global impact on how internet users in different countries engage with culture raises questions about the cultural equity of copyright enforcement.
We'll now talk about the successes of DMCA. One success was the protection of copyrighted works. The DMCA established legal measures against people finding ways to get around technological protections. This included encryption, password locks, or anti-piracy software that a copyright holder might have. These protections help copyright holders safeguard their work from those attempting to steal or copy it. Safe harbor provisions or online service providers was another success of DMCA. The DMCA made a rule to help websites against copyright infringement by users. As long as the websites followed specific guidelines, like removing the infringing content as soon as possible or as soon as they knew about it. This helped websites flourish because it gave them clear legal rules to follow when dealing with infringement. A failure of DMCA was the impact on fair use and consumer rights. Due to DMCA's restrictions on bypassing digital protections, there has been worries that this law takes away or limits consumers' ability to engage in fair use. For example, by making backup copies of legally purchased media. This law does favor the copyright holders. People who say that it's impinging on their rights think that the law is too broad and takes away from the legitimate uses of copyrights, like the example provided. Another failure of DMCA was challenges in video game preservation. The DMCA has made obstacles for video game preservationists who seek to archive and study video games. In a recent current event in October 2024, the U.S. Copyright Office denied a request for preservationists wanting libraries, archives, and museums to lend digital copies of older games remotely. The decision was made that these preservationists must access information on site, which poses challenges to study older games. This was a huge inconvenience for video game preservationists because not all libraries, archives, or museums have the entire range of older games on campus, let alone the ability to actually go and study these games might be harder for some preservationists, as well as the budget to maybe travel and read about new older games on different campuses.